In this video, I'm going to be making Left 4 Dead in Source 2 in S&box. It's insane. This is the future of gaming. Eventually, there will be VR support with crossplay, meaning VR and non-VR users can play together. Watch till the end and leave a like. Your mind will be blown. So, I've always wanted to make a Left 4 Dead campaign. I started working on one in 2017, but it was kind of bad, and I didn't have enough experience at the time. A couple years later, Back 4 Blood was announced, and they were hiring. I considered applying, but I didn't. I still wanted to make a Left 4 Dead campaign though. Fortunately, Half-Life Alyx came out, and soon after, Gary Newman started working on S&box. Well, I have the S&box now, and that means I can make my own Left 4 Dead campaign on Source 2. There's just one issue though. If I want to make a Left 4 Dead campaign, I have to make my own Left 4 Dead. So, last week, I started working on it. I took two of the default S&box game modes, DM98 and AI Labs, and merged them together. In AI Labs, you're basically an RTS controller that can spawn and control NPCs. I had to take that and turn it into a gun. You could left click to spawn an NPC, right click to make it move to the player's position, and press reload to make it walk where I was aiming. Now to change it from a scientist to a zombie, that's very easy. All I had to do was make it green and give them a random outfit. This was good, it's starting to feel like a zombie already. Of course it wasn't a zombie though. Zombies need to attack, so I took the knife code from the hidden game mode and gave it to the zombies. I set it up so they would just randomly swing their knife about once per second. This was good for now. What wasn't good was the zombies would walk all the way around a fence if I jumped over it. Obviously, you can't have this in a zombie mode. I needed to figure out how to make the zombies climb. In Source 2, NPCs use a navigation mesh to determine where they can and can't walk. It's very complex and I can tweak a ton of settings. By default, jumping is actually disabled. So I made a custom Nav Mesh with jumping turned on. NPCs in S&box were just added, and not all the functionality is there yet. Instead of jumping, the NPCs would actually walk into the wall and just be confused. As a temporary fix, I made it so the NPCs would float upwards when they're trying to walk into a wall. This actually works so well. The next thing I needed was the ability for zombies to jump off buildings. Fortunately, the Nav Mesh has a setting for that, and it just worked. At this time, I thought it would be a good idea to add some scary sound effects, so you would feel like you're actually there in an apocalypse. I was going to download some free sound effects, but the free website was actually down. Fortunately, I had some files on my desktop from a game I made last year. It was called Cartel, made for a game jam. These were the perfect zombie sounds. I even did the voice acting myself. Left 4 Dead has Special Infected, so I wanted to make a very basic version of that. I added two zombie types, Fast and Strong. They're the same thing as the regular zombie, just with different colors and slightly different stats. I'm going to make actual Special Infected later. At this point, I had almost enough to make a whole game mode. Not Left 4 Dead, but Zombie Survival. I made a custom spawn point entity for the zombie in a very simple map using the buildings from Construct. Zombies would constantly spawn in from these points outside of the map and run towards the players. That worked so well, I uploaded it and published it as a game mode, NPC Zombie Horde. This was a huge success. In just 2 days, I was able to make a mostly functional zombie survival mode. I hosted a big game where we fought infinite zombie waves. People thought it was so cool, and so did I. Now it was time to work on the full Left 4 Dead mode. I added a medkit and a revolver, along with placeholder icons for them. The revolver used the same model as the default pistol, but with different sounds. I'd fix this later, but I just wanted to get a weapon variation in. The most important thing was dynamic zombie spawns. I can't have predefined spawns in a dynamic mission. I've made a lot of procedural levels for games before, including enemy spawns, so this was pretty easy for me. Facepunch's AI Lab has a wander feature, so I reverse engineered it and found out it was just choosing a random spot on the Nav Mesh inside a specific range. I did the same, but I made a zombie spawn there instead of walking to it. I also made sure the player couldn't see that spot, so there would be no zombies appearing in front of you. This actually works on any map, so now, technically, you could play zombie survival anywhere. Unfortunately, the map needs a Nav Mesh with my custom parameters for the zombies to climb and fall. At this point, it was still zombie survival. The zombies were running directly towards the player, so I had to add zombie states. For now, there are two different states: wandering and charging towards the player. Charging was kept the same, but I took the wander code from AI Labs, tweaked it a little bit, and made the zombies a lot slower. The zombies spawn in the wander state, so I need to make them angry. Well, you make a zombie angry by shooting it, or running next to it, so I added that. I also made it so nearby zombies could get angry too. At this point, it was feeling like I could almost make a campaign. One of the things I wanted to add first was more weapons. S&box doesn't have any more weapons though. I'm already using all of them, so I had to make my own. I already made the revolver, but I needed a custom model for it. I found a free public domain gun and set it as the third-person model. That wasn't enough though. I needed a view model. I'm not a 3D modeler, and I'm definitely not an animator, so this was very hard. I extracted the default pistol view model from S&box and opened it in Blender. I had to delete the old pistol, replace it with my new one, and attach it to the hand where the pistol was. This took me a few hours to figure out, but eventually I was back in game with a working gun. I used the same animations even though it was a revolver, but that's okay for now. I also added an AK-47. I did the same process as the pistol, but it took a lot less time since I already knew how to do it. Next, I wanted to add a grenade and a new melee weapon. Previously, I was just using the bone knife from Hidden. I swapped the bone knife out for this free machete model, and I did the same for a grenade. I looked at the code for the crossbow, which fires a physical bullet, and changed it to be a grenade with physics that explodes. It was pretty simple. Unfortunately, the default explosions are kind of buggy, so I'll have to write my own explosion code later. I'm almost ready to make my Left 4 Dead campaign. It's at the point where my test map doesn't fit the game mode anymore, so I had to make a basic test campaign map. Fortunately, I'm the master level designer, and I can make it in just a few seconds. Check it out. Wow, that was so fast. I actually made it during a live stream on Twitch. After making it, I discovered a few issues. Mainly, the zombies would spawn behind the player in locations that the player has already visited. My solution to this will be generating all the potential spawn points before the round starts, and using my existing system to spawn the zombies only one time at their specific points. I haven't done that yet though. It'll be coming in part 2. I plan to have a fully functional test campaign made with loot spawns, pipe bombs, a Left 4 Dead inventory system, and dynamic hordes. I'm going to make Left 4 Dead's cut screamer zombie and boomers to trigger zombie hordes. If you like this content, you can support me on Patreon. That's right, I created a Patreon page. I make this stuff for free, so any support helps out a ton and allows me to create more content like it. In the future, I'll have complex tile sets and mapping resources available on there. That's it. Like, comment, and subscribe.